morning, good afternoon, whenever you're listening to this, welcome to the internet's most sophisticated wrestling podcast, discussing the weekly aspects of it all, right here on
The Bald Monkeys Wrestling Podcast.
Hello. It is the three bald monkeys this episode. We got the boss, Steven, with us, waving that
With enough
hair.
hair for everybody.
Hair for everybody. We got the Captain Chuckles, who's still listening to the music because
I
he
just
couldn't hear
turned
my
on
music.
and I'm listening to it now. I'm rocking out over here.
And of course, I'm Christopher. And who
Oh, you have to
are
say it right.
are we? Oh, I can't do it like Jimmy.
Christopher!
Christopher!
So we're without Jimmy. We are sans Jimmy tonight. The big baby is not with us. He has been called in to do a whole bunch of work. So here we are. We're gonna fly without him. And if you are watching on YouTube right now, you may be seeing us if this worked. If you're not seeing us, it didn't work. Never mind. So let's get right into it, and let's get past the logic and let's see what we thought of wrestling this week. So guys, I got to be honest, I missed Raw. So if we're gonna start with the beginning of the week, I was podcasting with you guys and then didn't go back and actually watch it. So what happened on Raw? What do we need to talk about? What do we need to review?
Oh, shnikes. I don't even remember, man. That was like so long ago.
It was days ago. Well, I do know that there was another Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan match, I believe. We got them again.
Liv squashed her. Jinder Mahal's back. He squashed Tozawa, which everybody does.
The
We got the
backbone of
contract
WWE, though. Tozawa is the backbone.
Murphy got booted in the face. He got claymored. He sacrificed himself for Rollins.
You know, I want to bring up this. So apparently, WWE.com decided that a dream match is now in the works, or who would you take in this dream match with Drew McIntyre and Jinder Mahal? Does anyone think that's a dream match?
No, not
Only
at all.
Only if Heath Slater is the referee.
But he can't be.
Don't
unless
say that.
unless this entire firing was a work. Every single employee being fired by WWE was a work.
They're going to have a mystery person for that final spot. The last chance gauntlet's going to go wrong on Monday this week for the last spot in the ladder match. Jinder Mahal's going to come out like Brock did last year and win it and cash in on Drew McIntyre. So the whole 3MB is going to be world champions.
I mean, does WWE dare do that? I mean,
It would be amazing.
It would be terrible. You see, you pronounced that word incorrectly. It would be terrible.
He could win it, and then Drew had like, and then Drew can have a confrontation with him. Like they meet backstage, and he's like, "You better not do what I think you're gonna do," and then bam, he cashes in on the Fiend and Strowman and takes the belt from them. He's got kids. He's got to do things.
I just don't see it. I mean, I get the comedy in it. I get the fun in it, but I don't see the purpose in getting a 3MB 2 out of 3 push right now. If you had all three of them, I would see it, but
they're wanting to push Drew. They're currently pushing Drew. They're wanting to push Jinder again. I don't know why, but they're wanting to push him again.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Jinder Mahal, I think, was working. Jinder Mahal was a really good heel. and that's what they wanted. They wanted a really good heel that everybody hated. I mean, it's the Baron Corbin like chemistry, right? Like Baron
Whoa,
Corbin
whoa,
not
whoa, whoa,
necessarily
whoa,
is. Well, I'm sorry,
whoa.
Chuck. Your favorite wrestler. I understand.
As much as I dislike Baron Corbin, I don't know. I would put Jinder Mahal in the same category as him.
Why not? What's the big difference between the two? Who stands above the other?
I would say that Baron stands above Jinder. I mean, even though Jinder had like a championship reign there for a little while, dude, I just don't take him seriously. I just don't. Like he's got a good bad guy character, but I can't get past the guy. Like
He
I'm just like I see him and I'm just like,
Don't
yeah,
hinder on
whatever.
gender. Don't hinder on gender.
But he beat Randy Orton for the world title. I mean, that's a big win, right? I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
And
And
then went on to beat Randy Orton over and over again for the next couple months of pay-per-views.
I feel like Jinder. I mean, we take away from him because obviously he's got a really boring move set. Like, there's really not a lot to it. I think what made Jinder was having the Bollywood boys with him, having those two heel valets rolling with him, and them taking all the great bumps and the great moves from Randy Orton all those weeks and months. That
Man,
was
those
epic.
back body drops on the tables. Oh man.
Yeah.
And they could take an RKO better than most people. Oh man.
Yeah, that they're ones that I'm glad are not in the released group right now. I think they deserve every bit to stick around. Anybody who's willing to take a bump like that, to me, it has earned their spot on the roster. And I kind of think that's why Maverick is still kind of floating around on the possibility that he might still be on the roster too. Spoke to Jimmy a little bit earlier today, and he is adamant that he thinks that what they're building right now is Drake Maverick actually getting re-signed, and that's going to be the story.
I think he's gonna win the title. The
Whoa.
cruiserweight title.
But that, I mean, there's a couple of big names in those brackets.
There is. I think he's gonna find a way to win it, and he's gonna disappear, and then he's gonna use that as a way of like bringing in a storyline and bringing him in. And he might even have he can. That's the way he can bring EC3 in to his as his muscle back in the NXT.
but is it really the cruiserweight title? Like, is it really the cruiserweight title?
No,
No.
no,
So,
it's
like,
interim.
it'll be interesting to see what they do once, everyone is back in the States and we're back to a new normal and everything.
Well, I
Let
mean,
Maverick win it like that way to keep pushing his character up. Let the cruiserweights do something. He's got some name value with, and people know him as Rockstar Spud and all these other indies and everything. Let him do something with that. Let him have a group around him that's his muscle, where he's the little guy in charge kind of thing.
well, what's interesting is it's that fun storyline of two belts, right? We did it with Razor and Shawn Michaels forever ago. We did it with, I believe it was John Cena and CM Punk did it at one point. I mean, there's been other versions of it as well, but that's a fun storyline. The idea of who's the real champion, and they get to fight and prove who gets to be the real champion, and it builds. It makes a lot of sense, and it's kind of a layup for a storyline. But when you're dealing with cruiserweights who aren't as well known, but I think, and we talked about this weeks ago, I think they are really getting the time to showcase their skills through this interim cruiserweight title, and also guys like Tozawa, who is a regular squash match,
WWE workhorse.
but dude, love me some Tozawa. Like, they're
Sounds like
getting
an
the
Asian
time in.
sauce you put on your food. Love me some
Extra.
Tozawa.
Extra good. Tozawa! Extra Tozawa. Thank you. Um, but, like, it's just a situation where I think this has been really good for that division, 205 Live, and just NXT in general, that they've had the time to put these cruiserweights on the showcase. And I hope we do another Cruiserweight Classic, because that's what made me fall back in love with the Cruiserweights again, was that tournament. So they need to revamp that tournament and bring it through again.
100%. The tournament was fun, and that's one thing I think when Triple H is more in charge, you'll see more of, because he's all about the tournaments. I think you'll get more King of the Ring, you'll get more stuff like that, because it worked. It works for NXT, it worked for the Cruiserweights there for a while. You need to do stuff like that from time to time to keep it fresh, to use people and to introduce new people.
Well, what's interesting and what happened and broke this week is the idea that ESPN is possibly in negotiations with WWE for a purchase. And that would just be, I don't know. I don't know if I'm happy about that or unhappy about that. I don't know where that would take WWE.
Well, Fox was named also
Fox
in
is
one of the
one.
articles I read. So I mean, between the two, at this point, I would kind of rather see what ESPN could do with it, because I don't think Fox has really done anything spectacular with Friday Night SmackDown.
Well, I mean, how much do they really have their hands in it? Let's be honest. I mean, do you think
Well,
there's a Fox person
that's
in the writing room
true
with
as well.
WWE? So.
Oh wait, don't they have the robot there?
Ooh, that robot.
That damn robot.
Well, hey, they fixed the robot, because it no longer says Baron Corbin, Roman Reigns, Baron Corbin, Roman
That's
Reigns,
true.
Baron Corbin,
True.
Roman Reigns.
We fixed that
It's
part
moved
of
on.
it. Or wait,
Yeah.
or did COVID fix that?
Oh,
So the
that.
robot is the only thing in the United States that didn't get COVID. Nice. Okay, good.
Or maybe COVID was the cure for the broken robot on SmackDown. Yeah, that works out. So, well, let's jump over to SmackDown. What I caught a little bit of it.
Whoa, hold on. We got to talk about the other thing that happened on Monday. Apollo Crews getting hurt.
Oh, okay.
The whole reason we're having a match tomorrow night for the last spot in the Money in the Bank.
So, is it a work? Is it a work that Apollo Crews got hurt, or is this literally an injury? Like, did they seriously write this injury in for him? Because that's kind of terrible. Unless, and this is my only thought, I go back to this great promo and I'm kind of jumping to SmackDown and jumping back, but what if this whole message, the truth will come out, the Ali thing is, what if it's a group that we've been talking about? Because we've been talking about that it's a group. It's not just one person. And what if you can put a guy like Apollo Crews in that group with Ali, with Shorty G, with anybody else that maybe has been underappreciated? And all of a sudden it's a group of people that are, underappreciated. These NXT guys that came up and never really got their shot. And maybe Crews can kind of fold into them. That's the only way I'd be okay with them writing Apollo Crews out by an injury. If it's a real injury, fine, but it kind of sucks that they wrote him off like that.
Yeah, because he was hitting at the right time, it felt like. He's got the skill set. He picked up a couple wins in a row.
His attitude. Oh, yes. Awesome. That was great. Yeah, what you going to do about it? What you going to do?
If it's not a legit injury, they should have gave him the U.S. belt and then let him get hurt after the match if it was going to be a work. I feel like.
I just don't know. Like, I mean, it's a crazy spot. I'm kind of disappointed in the lineup so far for the Money in the Bank for the men.
Brock Lesnar can always run out and win it.
So there's been images going around of Brock beating Kofi, and there's been images going around of Ali standing at the top of the ladder trying to hold that briefcase, which he should have just freaking took down while Brock was walking down the ramp. Another thing I was thinking about is Ali could probably just pull a Brock, and like you said, maybe they just don't end up with a winner of the match tomorrow night. And the vacant spot is still there, and they just don't have another person, or a person gets jumped, or something happens to the point where no one no one who has that last spot is able to get to the ring, and then that's how Ali all of a sudden comes back and revenge for last year gets the briefcase.
I haven't seen, but has they announced who's going to be in that gauntlet match tomorrow? Is that isn't that they said what it was?
Yeah, it's a gauntlet
last
match.
chance. So I think it's everybody who's lost their qualifiers before this hand.
Yeah, I don't know that they've announced it yet. We might see it within the next 24-hour period. But that being said, the gauntlet matches have been since Seth Rollins went like 45 minutes. There really hasn't been an amazing gauntlet match. They've been kind of weird or
Well, I know
obvious.
that was that one on Raw, but the one on SmackDown where Kofi went, another 40 minutes was good too. They did back-to-back gauntlets.
Well, wasn't that before it?
It was after the Seth one.
It was the same week, maybe.
Yeah, it was the same week,
Okay.
but it was later on in the week.
Yeah.
Because it was for who was entering first for each show in the chamber match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's really hard still to get into wrestling with no crowds. It's taken away from it.
AJ Styles is slated to come back Monday, so maybe he's gonna win the match to be put in the ladder match.
Isn't he dead?
Yeah, I thought he was buried. I mean, you don't come back when you're buried.
He's got no good brothers with him anymore. He's all by himself.
Undertaker came back from the dead a few times, as did Kane and
he's the Undertaker. Come on, bro. AJ Styles is just phenomenal. He's not the dead man.
Blew up, and he was back the next week.
Well,
yes, the whole
but all right, let's take a sidetrack on that note, Steven.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Let's speaking of Chris Benoit, speaking of controversial stories, Dark Side of the Ring. These last two episodes, have you guys watched the last two episodes of Dark Side? Which was it Dino Bravo?
And I haven't watched the Dino Bravo one yet.
Okay, and then the last one. What's the last one, Chuck, that just aired?
Schultz.
Okay. I honestly didn't see the Schultz one. I saw the Dino Bravo one. The Dino Bravo one, I learned a lot. I didn't realize how big of a name Dino Bravo was in his little world in Montreal. And the idea that he was basically the guy. He was the guy, but he made himself the guy. He was the writer, the promoter.
The Vince McMahon.
Yeah, he was Vince, but putting
Vince
himself
was
over.
A wrestler also.
Yeah. If Vince was Hulk Hogan.
Vince has been a multiple-time champion, okay?
But he was also an announcer when he started too.
Yeah.
Vince didn't put himself in the main event. Vince put himself, behind the announce desk first, and then he put himself in the ring. So it was interesting to see what Dino Bravo had gotten into. I didn't realize how young his family was when he got murdered, and the fact that this is a 25-year-old case that is still not closed. And they still don't know.
They spoke French throughout the whole thing, and I had to read subtitles. But hey, it is what it is.
French Canadian.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
French Canadian.
It made me have to pay attention. I had to actually watch the screen and see what was going on. I couldn't play Candy Crush the whole time. I had to pay attention to the screen and actually read.
You still play Candy Crush?
Yeah, the wife is on a higher level than me, so I'm slowly making my way to catching her, and she hates that, so she's probably going to come yell at me right now.
Yeah, the Dino Bravo one was good. I completely agree. I think I said it last week when we spoke about it really quickly that it was interesting to see how popular he was, how big of an influence he was in that Canadian wrestling area and everything. And this last week's with Schultz, I mean, to be honest, I had never even heard of the guy. And like, even when I was watching the video of it, I still kind of didn't even recognize him. I mean, maybe he was one of like somebody that I saw along the way, but it was never like like I never made a connection with, oh yeah, I saw that guy. Whereas like the week before when we were watching Dino Bravo, I was like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I know who Dino Bravo is.
Oh, as soon as you saw
Like,
bleach blonde Dino Bravo, you're like,
oh
yeah, bleach blonde Dino Bravo. I know that guy.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
But the Schultz thing was interesting to see, how kind of popular he was getting, and then going up against Hogan, a number of times, and how he spoke of his relationship with Hulk, and after a certain point in time when the whole thing went down, that like kind of started his downturn, it was like he kind of just got shunned by the wrestling community, and it was just interesting to see. And what was the what was the reporter's name that he slapped? Oh man, I can't remember.
Is that the title of the?
Yeah, the
It's
slap
like
her around the world
the
or
slap
something
heard
like
around the
that.
world. Yeah.
Um,
Well, another win episode. It sounds like for Darkseid, another
it
good
was.
one. This whole season's been
I'm
like
telling out
up
of
here the whole
one
time.
after another.
yeah, they've had 8 episodes this season so far, I think, right? 7 or 8. They had 6 the first season, and I honestly have to say that not one of them was a bust episode. Every single episode, in my opinion, has been really, really good, and I've like found out other things, like the Gorgeous Gino one that we talked about like last week for a little bit. Never even heard of the dude, but like it was very entertaining to watch that side of it, and just see like we said last week, me and Jimmy agreed, we both like it when there's like a crime aspect to it. It makes it a little bit more, not to say that just like plain wrestling, like with like Bret Hart and HBK, like that was just pure wrestling story and everything. Like that was good. Like the Macho Man thing was good. It had a little bit of other stuff in it, but like the stuff with, you know, a little bit of the crime aspect always makes it a little bit more interesting.
Well, yeah, it gives another layer to it where it's not just, wrestling.
Makes it more real world.
Yeah, it's something else. So yeah, definitely go check that out if you haven't. Both new Dark Sides. I'm done with the Dino Bravo. Got my fill of the Mountie and Rick Martel, so I was excited
Dude,
about
I didn't
seeing
even
those
know
guys.
that was the Mountie.
Oh, dude, he goes, "Who am I? I'm the Mountie."
I know. When he said that, I was like,
that's
what?
the one thing I do know about him.
Yeah. So that was cool to see him. And then Rick Martel was interesting to see the old video of Rick Martel talking about it. So really good, episodes. Definitely, ones to check out. All right. So touched on a little dark side. So let's jump back to our friends on Wednesday night. And which show did we catch up on this week? NXT or AEW? Because NXT was live, right? Because they're actually taping at the Performance Center live. AEW was another taped episode from QT Marshall's gym. So which one do you guys want to dive into first?
I did not watch NXT. I just watched AEW this week. I didn't get a chance to go back and watch NXT.
So let's talk about AEW. What was your thoughts on AEW, if that's the one that we could all actually have an opinion on?
I mean, it's not a wrestling point, but I want to know what QT Marshall's gym looks like, because I swear to God that there was turf. There was green AstroTurf underneath the ring.
Yeah.
I was like,
you probably assume it's something like an indoor soccer facility, or football facility, or hockey facility or something, and basically they just put a ring in the
it was like
best
the biggest
place
where they
for
could
it.
put the ring in there.
Well, they probably moved the ring around. I bet you it's a big training facility that they said, listen, the ring needs to be in this location so that we could put the camera here facing this way. It's still interesting to see them have the wrestlers outside and shuttle through all the QT Marshall School wrestlers. If Pineapple Pete doesn't become something,
Pete, love him.
dude, like Jericho has made that man. And if he doesn't change his wrestling name to Pineapple Pete, the guy doesn't know what he's doing.
True.
At least a couple shirts.
Yeah, that'd be good too. So
I mean, I was gonna say, to start off with, the Darby Cody match, It was a nice Rhodes Brothers bookend show on Wednesday. I I thought it was a good match. I don't know if I really liked the ending. Like you kind of knew that this was going to
Coffin
be
drop?
no. I love the coffin drop. I didn't really like the sly little pullover to pull Darby's shoulders and like Darby just kind of like flopping and like dude not even trying to move at all. It was kind of like okay. I mean, that's just my thought.
Is it me or did it seem like Cody had the wind knocked out of him at the end of that match? Like he got hit with that coffin drop, and Cody looked like he was like just couldn't breathe, and he was like, "I have to roll over and pin you now." Like
Well,
he was
even
barely even
when
touching him.
yeah, even when Cody tried to hit the coffin drop on Darby and
Yeah.
he got the knees in the back. Oh man.
That's where it started, I think. I think he had already like kind of like singed up there, and then Darby runs up and drops the coffin drop on him, and he just knocked the wind out of him. I think that was the case. I think he was
Yeah.
just done. So yeah, it was
But
a sloppy roll up.
it was and honestly, I think that was the only thing that I really didn't like about that match. I thought it had a lot of good spots in it. They I think the two of them work really well together.
Hmm.
In my opinion.
Yeah,
I
the
thought it
few
was a good
matches
match.
they've had have been really solid between the both of them. So yeah.
I mean, I just Cody to me still like we talked about it last week, and I mentioned it. To me, he is the biggest face going in wrestling right now. He is building himself to be the best comeback story because what's going to happen now is he's going to lose to the Murder Hawk, right? Like there's no way he beats him in the finals here. And he's just going to continue losing to the point where he's going to be either the ultimate underdog finally getting a chance at the title for, at some point down the line when somebody turns and he gets to be a face, or he gets to be heel Cody again. And when he gets to be heel Cody, it's going to be
He is so good as Hill Cody.
Yeah.
When he hit New Japan and when he joined the club and all his work in Ring of Honor. Oh, when everybody was chanting the Gold Dust chant, not the Stardust chants to him,
Stardust. Yeah.
and he did the flip with the fingers. Oh,
Yeah, he's got potential with it, and yeah, another good match for them, and Archer and Dustin having that final match. The whole is Dustin Rhodes just does it seem like he has to bleed every match for it to be a good match? Like, are we
I mean, it happens a lot.
like,
he's old.
but does you don't have to like the point of the point of color is it needs a purpose. You don't just blade every 2 seconds, right? You don't blade every single match. Or unless you're in like a crazy hardcore division or match, or you're New Jack or something, or the Butcher, you don't need to bleed every 2 seconds. And I feel like he's just every time they're obviously pulling the camera away, he's putting, some kind of mark on his head and he's bleeding. And it's like the Cody match, okay, I get that. That was good, right? It was good storytelling. And he's doing it again in this big match. It's like, all right, dude, like, is every big match going to involve you bleeding?
He just lost too much of his face paint and he was just trying to get it back, and that was the best way he thought.
That's a horrible way to go about it.
I agree. Um I don't know. I mean, I still think he is a good wrestler. I mean, he gets in there and he takes, he took a lot of he's taken a lot of hard bumps over the last like couple of times that he's wrestled and everything. Did anybody catch, and it happened so quick, the botch with the pin towards the end of the match?
I'm not gonna lie. I had our storm blow through, and I have a TV
One of your
that
many tornadoes.
one of the many tornadoes that we've been dealing with because we live in Tornado Alley Light right now. So the last part of that match that I saw live was when Archer did that incredible freaking old school where he walked across the ropes and did the flip, and I was like, "Holy cow!" My TV froze with Archer upside down like that, and that's the last thing I saw.
Awesome. So it actually happened like a little bit after that. Archer, I think, tried to do. I don't know if he tried to do something on Cody, and they go for the pin, and Aubrey Edwards is in the back, and she's like, 1, 2. Oh, okay. You kicked out. Okay, like she was waiting. It was almost as if Archer and Rhodes were so tired that like she went too fast for them and they weren't ready for it. But I had to go back and rewind it and go, wait, huh? Like she could have totally just went with the cadence and the match was over.
And it's
I
taped.
was like, nope, you messed up. Or they messed up or something.
That's the bad part, is it's taped.
It's taped.
It's taped, and they still didn't catch that.
I was like, okay, well, whatever.
I want to give some kudos to AEW because I was very hard on them when they first started around their timing and their commercial breaks. I think they've done a really good job with better commercial breaks in the last month or so. Granted, it's been more taped episodes, but even the live episodes that I've watched, they've improved their commercial breaks and when they go. That being said, if they had a botch in the final match that was a taped match, that was bad. That's a bad production problem.
And anybody listening or watching or whatever, watch the last like 5 minutes of that match, and Aubrey Edwards has to like hesitate like an extra half a second for them to kick out.
I'm gonna have to go back and see that.
Oh, and Aubrey Edwards has her own shirt now. Just in case you guys didn't know, it comes in I think white and black.
Well, hey man, we actually have our own shirts. So if you're still listening at the moment, you can go over to TeePublic and find the Bald Monkeys Wrestling Podcast shirt. Or if you just want to support the Bald Monkeys in general, we can get one of these. This is a Bald Monkeys hockey shirt, and there's other versions of the shirt as well. So that was our little apparently
TeePublic.com
commercial for TeePublic in the middle of our
Join
podcast.
The Monkey Nation.
Join the monkeys. I totally forgot what I was going to say now.
I think Cultaholic does the join us at the end of that. You got to be careful with that.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I don't want to get sued.
No, don't. I didn't say join us. I said join. I said join. It was my accent. I don't know what that means, but
What's my accent?
So, so basically we have that match and the front end. So the Rhodes is kind of bookend the show for us. What do you guys think about Wardlow? This is the second week he squashed somebody, and he does one move that I'm like, holy crap, he's going to decapitate someone. But the rest of him, I don't know. What do you think about Wardlow's move set right now and him as a character?
Him as a character, I like it. I like it a lot. It's the big, strong bouncer guy, finally coming out, getting his due, since the weenie MJF, cut his neck shaving.
Oh, wait a second. Okay, we're gonna take a pause in whatever we're talking about right now, so that the captain is gonna have a moment to rant and lay it down right now, because I know he has a feud that is brewing right now. You out there in the podcast world might not realize this, but there is a feud brewing, and it's gonna be epic. And it's MJF versus Captain Chuckles. It's coming. I can feel it.
It is.
So go ahead, the captain. The floor is yours.
And at some point, that little masshole pipsqueak is finally, found out. I don't know if it was this week or last week that he either lives or is from Massachusetts. And I was like, oh, no wonder why I really hate MJF. MJF, he's a masshole. Now I understand. But anyway, multiple times I have commented on his tweets, you're still a tool. You're a tool. Like, dude, just you're an idiot. Like, just get over it. MJF, I love you, man, but come on. Really?
So there was a person giving him crap on Twitter, and basically they were like, "I am going to learn how to wrestle just so I can kick your ass." That's what they told MJF.
It was awesome.
MJF, I got to give him credit.
It
Had
was
one
great.
of the
His
best
response was
responses ever.
A+.
Chuck? Do you know it verbatim? Because I'm gonna butcher it otherwise. But
Oh man, he was basically like, "Listen, bro, I will pay for your wrestling classes. I will pay for this. I will make sure to
your
get you
personal
here,
trainer, I will
just
pay for the
so
plane to
yeah,
fly you places. I will
just so
put
I
you
can
up.
beat your ass." I mean, it honestly was the perfect response to it. And like I sit here and I wonder, and I'm like, okay, because so that kid that tweeted that literally had
Mhm.
like he had only been on Twitter since like April and only had like a handful of tweets. So like there are some times where I'm like, I just wonder if it's, somebody
It's a
that's
plant.
associated with
It's a
MJF.
plant. You could
Yeah.
say it. It's a plant.
Yeah. Just
Call
doing
him
that
out.
or whatnot. Because I'm like, dude, there's no that he must get so many mentions on Twitter for being a complete and utter jackass that there's no way that he's pulling out some random schmo, Joe Schmo maybe, from all of these
Randy
random things that
Schmuckluck.
he gets. There's no way. But I mean, still, so funny. So
Well,
funny.
you heard it here first, MJF. Captain Chuckles is calling you out. He says these people that you're responding to and that are saying bad things about you, they're not real. They're plants. If you want to really throw down, this guy right here is ready to go. So stay tuned, Twitter world, because I feel it coming. There's gonna be a moment where Chuck he
At some
entices him
point.
enough that we're gonna get a back and forth with Captain Chuckles and MJF, and it's gonna be basically half the podcast us just talking about how great it was.
At some point. One can only hope. One can only hope.
So is
But
a
Wardlow, I,
Wardlow? Yeah, back to
I,
Wardlow.
I where it all started. I mean, he doesn't really have a move set. I mean, he's just a big dude, but like
What about that
that
F5, man? Like that release F5 he does.
dude. I literally sat there and I'm like, dude, he's gonna kill somebody. He's literally going to kill somebody with this move. And then I looked at it again and I was like, bro, you're jacked to all you're jacked to the wall, and like you barely got the dude over your head. So I was like, I don't know. This might not be the best finisher to try to do here if you can barely get this little dude over your head.
It's a scary move, man.
I think they're trying to find their scary monster like Brock character, like the young Brock. When he first came in, he really only had power bomb, clothesline, and the F5, and that's all he ever really needed. And I mean, even now, it's just German suplexes, clotheslines, and F5s. So they're just trying to find somebody that has that dominant presence with a very selective move set. So
Who's your favorite big man in AEW? Because I mean, there's four of them, right? There's Luchasaurus, there's Brody Lee, there's Wardlow, and there's Archer. I mean, those are the four big men, right, in AEW right now. Am I miss anybody? I think that's basically it. So,
No,
of those four, who do you think who do you like the most, and who do you think has the most potential to go far?
Luchasaurus on both of those.
yeah, exactly. I think he's got. I mean, now I've only seen a couple of matches with Archer here and everything, but Luchasaurus seems to be the most well-rounded wrestler. I think he's got a good move set. His agility, I think, is better than the other three.
He can do a
Um,
standing shooting star press. Yeah, his agility's better than the other ones. He's
yeah,
what, 6'4",
yep,
6'5", and can do a standing. Get out of
yeah.
here.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. He is the best one of the four.
You know, I would agree with you guys up until Wednesday night, and when I watched Archer do that flip off of the top rope and freeze in midair, I was like, wow, that's amazing. that nobody else in the wrestling industry could pull that off. But I really, kidding aside, I really do think Archer is what they need right now in a big man. I just don't know if they're selling it the right way, because if you notice, Brody Lee is the only one who isn't getting knocked down. Their other big men are continually getting knocked down in some way, shape, or form. Archer even was struggling to win his match against Dustin, obviously, and Luchasaurus has been knocked down before, and Wardlow, took on Cody and was knocked down. But Brody Lee right now is the only big man that is otherworldly, let's call it. The idea that he can't be beat, the idea that he can't be hurt. You're hurting your big man by not creating that persona. And I feel like they have 4 guys that they should be doing that with, and they're really only doing it with Brody Lee.
Well, I feel like it's a little bit of they're almost afraid to do that, because that's been WCW did that with their big guys. WWE's done that with their big guys. It's like they're afraid to pull that trigger and be part of the same mold when they don't have to be. And it's a double-edged sword, because it could put them right in that same kind of category as all these other companies, or it could be amazing and let that character, whoever they pick or whichever ones they pick, develop in the next level that they need to be into.
But I mean, on the part of with Brody, I mean, who has he really faced? That's the other thing. Yeah, I'm you've gone up against jobbers and tiny midgets,
Marco
17-year-old
Stunt.
tiny midgets.
Marco Stunt. That's who
Yeah, I
Brody
know.
Lee beat so far. Marco
Who
Stunt.
I love Marco Stunt. I mean, he's fun. He's crazy. But I mean, it's Brody Lee against Marco Stunt. Come on. So he really has, at least Archer, for the short time that he's been in, he's at least
They
had
fought Marco Stunt. They
one
fought
decent
Dustin.
match.
Yeah, there's one.
Luchasaurus has had a number of matches, and I feel that I don't know. I feel like they underutilized him when they were live. I mean, before all the COVID stuff happened. And and with Wardlow, he really only had two
He didn't
matches.
wrestle. Yeah.
I mean, so other than Luchasaurus, you don't have much to go on with these other 3 guys in the realm of actual matches. So I mean, it's just another reason to chalk one up for Luchasaurus. And I mean, taking out of everything that some of these guys might have done in independence or other places, for
That
what
doesn't
they
count.
have done and shown in AEW, it has and that's not their fault. I mean, it's the writing of it's from the writing team. So, you can't fault Brody Lee for them wanting to build him up as the guy that no one can beat, and he's the ringleader and the exalted one and this and that. You can't, hinder him for that, but you can't really, it's not an even comparison in my mind.
Well, Brody's promos have been better than his wrestling so far, but that's not, I think, any of his fault. I just think, again, he really hasn't been able to wrestle anybody, because they've been one live show, I think, when he actually debuted, and taped otherwise, right?
Yeah, but in other news, when it comes to that, though, the state of Florida announced within the
Yeah.
next week or 2, they're going to start let limited number of fans back in, so they could have 50, 60 people in the audience, but at least that's some kind of audience reaction that could help.
How do I get on that list?
You probably have to live in the general area or pay a lot of money.
Yeah, or both. Yeah, it's going to be. Well, I got to imagine the NXT United. Shout out to the NXT United. They're a group that are the guys, basically the guys and girls you see in the front rows of every single NXT tape show. Really cool group of people. It's people that live in the area, and they're always there supporting NXT. Those will be the ones that are first on the list for NXT. I'm curious about AEW, because AEW is obviously a a very different set of fans right now. And I'd be interested to see what ends up at those events if they get, how many people did you say? Like, I thought it was 25% of what the gate could be is what they were allowed to do, or is it even less?
Okay, see, originally they were talking about 40, 50 people depending on the arena, but 25% of it would be more, and they could still keep them pretty spread out. So that would be a lot,
Yeah.
a couple hundred people then that way.
Well,
So
it's
that wouldn't be bad.
interesting because 25% of the gate is kind of what they've been really just having sales in, like for ticket sales. Like if you, like it's interesting what they curtain off seats, right? Because 25% of the arena is really all they ever use. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm looking forward to fans being at shows again. Um, I think the good thing that we got out of this is the cinematic wrestling matches have been fun. And I think the bits that Chris Jericho and the Inner Circle have been doing have been classic. The Bubbly
Well,
Bunch.
the Bubbly Bunch has been good, but I still love oh god, what is his name? The one he's tagging with this week.
Sammy
Sammy's
Guevara.
Guevara, yeah. Him coming out singing Jericho's theme music a couple weeks ago with MJF and with I want to call him Ty Dillinger, but yeah, that was great.
You can call him Sean Spears, but you can call him Ty Dillinger.
Spears,
We're
thank
okay
you,
with that.
Spears. Yeah, everybody knows him as him, Spears. Yeah,
Well, you know what? He's an interesting topic. What do you think about Sean Spears in AEW? Because he left, and everybody thought like he was going to go and be something bigger than he was in WWE. But other than hitting Cody Rhodes in the head with a chair, what has he done in AEW?
I feel like we're gonna end up getting almost the same thing with Brody Lee, to where they have the beginning of an idea and they don't have the follow through with it. Because I feel like they didn't have the follow through with Sean Spears. That initial, oh my God, he hit Cody. The match was a little flatter than they wanted it to be between the two of them. And they're okay. Well, it's obviously not Cody's fault because it's Cody. So let's just throw him to the wayside until we come up with something else. And it's like they almost what happened to him in WWE is happening to him in AEW at this point, where he's just being pushed to the wayside at this point. And I have a feeling that with Brody Lee, if nothing changes, if it keeps up where he's just doing squashes, they're going to lose momentum with him too. And you're going to start seeing more and more of that where they're bringing people in and they don't know the payoff for things yet. Like I'm interested to see what's going to happen with Matt Hardy because they're throwing him right in there with Jericho and stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do, but I just think they lose momentum and don't know how to finish things.
It's funny that you bring that up because one of the little news articles that I was reading down on my list today was about all of the ex WWE talent that AEW has and their ratings, like their grade so far with AEW, and like Hardy and Brody, like they're incomplete because they really haven't had much of a base or anything. And it's funny with Sean Spears, like they were basically like, yeah, he hasn't done anything. And I think they gave him like a C minus or something like that. So yeah, I mean it's for someone who looks the part very well of a good heel and has good moves in the ring. I don't think his mic skills are that good. You know, I mean, you really haven't heard him too much either. But I mean, it's just kind of flopped. Like the whole chairman of the board thing, you could
Oh,
do so much with that,
it
and
was
it
gold.
just kind of flopped.
Yeah.
I could see him be the first one to jump ship back to WWE.
But why would they take him back?
He's still a recognized name, and his wife is still with WWE.
I think the
Part of
second
that.
part plays harder than the first part on that one.
Yeah,
They seem to like their couples right now. Um,
iconic. I'm waiting on them to come back. I'm actually kind of missing them at this point when women's tag team
hey,
wrestling.
absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we were
At
getting
least for
too
half
much of
of them.
them. Yeah.
Did you guys read the article about WWE basically giving anybody a leave if they want to exit the company?
Well, a release, right? Like they would release them.
Yeah. If they wanted to go, WWE would be like, "Okay, sure. Yeah.
Do
We'll let you leave."
Is that why Henning left? Is that why?
No.
No,
I that
he
was
was on the first list. They just didn't. He
yeah.
wasn't making a big deal about it when it first happened. Apparently, he's been released for a couple weeks now, and
Oh,
he
okay.
just he said it was nobody else's business but mine. I shouldn't, I don't know. He's a multiple generation superstar though, so he's one of those that eventually he might be in a backstage role, but he'll end up back at some point just because they like to do that when it comes to family.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if anybody does choose to leave now that they've kind of made it public that hey, if you want to go, like yeah,
We don't want you.
yeah, we'll part ways with you. Another interesting thing, Rey Mysterio's contract is apparently up in the fall, and there has been no movement there between the two sides either, from what I've read.
He needs to be the leader of the Latino World Order, and then on his way out, Andrade push him out to take over.
Andrade. Oh man, another article I read. So Vince
Chuck's been
McMahon,
reading. The
I
captain's been
have.
reading.
Vince McMahon
Dang.
allegedly told
Oh,
Andrade
I've
that
heard
if
this.
he wants a push, he better learn English.
I 100% believe that
I do too.
because Asuka is proof of the non-push you get without speaking English. Shinsuke Nakamura is proof of the non-push you get without speaking English. You
And
have to. You have to be able to
basically,
speak.
basically, the reasoning behind that is they want you to be able to speak for yourself and not need a valet at some point. They want to be able to take her from you if you're going to be a main person.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, the whole having to take the valet away. I think Zelina Vega is gold. Whoever she has touched so far has been skyrocketing. And don't take that away from her. Don't take that away from the person that's working well with her. Push them together. Who cares? Andrade was great in NXT with her. He's been great on Raw, whether he's being squashed or whether he's being pushed. And now Garza, I think Garza, this interesting thing he's got going on with what's her name, Charlie Caruso, and the promos that they're pulling.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Garza is Eddie Guerrero. He is the second coming of Eddie Guerrero. He is a more athletic version. He's
I don't
built a
know.
little.
Eddie was pretty athletic.
But Garza, I think is just built lighter, and that's why I think Garza
Oh
would
yeah.
be more athletic. Now, Eddie was able to roll with the heavyweights. I don't know if Garza is going to be able to do that. Like, I don't know if Garza could go up and wrestle guys like Drew. I don't know if he's going to be able to hold his own in a match with Drew. But dude, this guy's got it. He's got mic skills, he's got finesse, and he's got such a way with the camera and just playing to the camera whether he's in the ring or doing a promo. So I'm
He
all in on Garza.
he would be a great mid card champion for one of those belts. No matter what, getting rid of Show, either the US title or the IC title, he would be a great he would be a great champion for either one of those. But I agree with you. I don't I don't see him going for like a heavyweight run because there's like a mismatch. I completely agree with you, Chris.
But let me preface that with, or not preface before after. Let me say it after. But
Follow
Eddie
that up with.
Eddie Guerrero at one time, remember, was a cruiserweight. He was a mid-level guy. He was a cruiserweight guy, and then he got
And
the
he started
big
to do
win
steroids.
over Brock when he came back, and
Yeah.
he was, wide-shouldered Eddie.
He was all upper body.
Yeah. But I mean, Garza could take that same track where he becomes a great mid-card cruiserweight guy, which he's already done the cruiserweight thing. He's in the mid-card picture. And man, I was talking with somebody on Twitter about this. if Garza isn't the perfect guy for the Money in the Bank briefcase, I don't know who is right now. I just think he would make all the sense in the world to be that heelish guy with the briefcase, just lurking in the shadows.
I don't know.
Well, who's a better choice right now? Because I don't, and we mentioned Rey Mysterio. I hate that Rey Mysterio is in the Money in the Bank ladder match. I'm kind of over Rey. I'm kind of want Rey to kind of move to the side and get
Yeah,
out of the way a little bit.
it seems like the only reason he's in a lot of things now is to have that name value. They very much misused him since he's been back. I
I
feel like.
Well, they missed the opportunity to turn Humberto Carrillo because Humberto Carrillo turning on Rey Mysterio would have gave him all the heat he needed to be a true heel and would have helped that guy because he could have just rolled right into the group with Zelina, and there's your LWO right there, or whatever Zelina wants to call them. I'd be fine with them just rolling with these three, or Austin Theory doing his own thing and they bring in somebody else. This can be the LWO. You don't even have to call them the LWO. Give them another cool name with Zelina Vega at the helm. Like, I'm fine with that.
Well, they've been talking because you know how they all did the fists up together at the end of was it Raw this week or last week, whichever one it was. They were talking about the Nation of Domination, how it's like they were the second coming of them. Give them that kind of an angle. I'm okay with that. Just
Yeah.
give them something. Let them have something.
It's there. They're working on it. It's there.
More factions.
Yeah. More facts. And you know what? I got to give Chelsea Green some props. So yeah,
Wait,
not Britt
Britt
Baker.
Baker?
No, those are different people, Chuck. They're different
Oh,
people.
wait.
Is she the role model?
Wait,
See,
I thought she had no hair.
no, Britt Baker is my role model, and
Okay.
Chelsea Green, who's had many different personas as she's gone through Impact Wrestling and NXT, and she was on, I believe she's on a podcast, and she spoke about how WWE is missing an opportunity to have more female factions, to put more women together and have a female faction just like they put together these men factions. And I am 100% on board with that. I think that's a great idea. And they're not doing it. They have these women that are available. Like, you had Chelsea and Deonna Purrazzo, who you could have put together and built something around them, but you now have Chelsea by herself. Who could you build a faction around to be that dominant force with the women that they kind of need right now? Because the women are all scattered everywhere right now.
They
They do
need to
seem
do
very all over the place.
Who'd you
they
say,
need
Chuck?
I was gonna say they need to do like the Oriental Express.
Oh boy.
Like
Oh man.
I mean, dude,
They
how
they kind of tease that with Io and Asuka and Kyrie. Like, there was a little bit of a tease there that maybe we would have all three of them on the same show at one point, but Io is still on NXT and the other two are
Not.
not. Yeah.
I know. I know. But yeah, I mean, it would be it's funny. Can anyone remember like an all female faction throughout the years? No,
I,
that doesn't count.
the Four
That never
Horsewomen in
happened.
NXT was the closest thing they had, but
Yeah.
it was never a true faction.
Yeah.
They were always paired up, right? It was like it was Bailey and Charlotte on one side with Becky and Sasha at one point. I think then it was Becky and Charlotte with Bailey and Sasha. They kept flipping around where it was always twos, right? But no, that I don't know that there was ever a true female faction, and it'd be interesting if they could put one together. I think it'd be really good
I
for the
agree.
women's division. And
I side with Chelsea Green on that one.
you almost slipped there. Yeah,
I
Chelsea
did.
Grin.
Sorry. I apologize.
Chelsea Baker.
Chelsea Baker.
Brick
There we
Green.
go.
Green.
So it'd be interesting to see, and I'm interested to see what they do with the female wrestling because, like I mentioned, seems a little scattered right now. I don't like this trend of every female has to be a heel. Like, Candice is a heel now as well, Candice LeRae. I don't know if you guys caught the promo. Chuck, you didn't watch NXT, but they did another bit where Candice came out. I love her new music and her new intro as the Pixie, as the basically a heel Pixie now. But just her playing this dark character, it just seems like everybody's playing the easy role of a heel. And why do we have to have every single freaking person be a heel?
Because why not?
Because it's easy. Stop doing the easy thing. Give me a face. Give me something different. Like Io Shirai, is she a heel or a face now? Heel. Charlotte Flair, heel or a face?
She's always a heel. Even when she's trying to be a face, she's a heel.
Heel. Bianca Belair, who just came up, was a heel. And Bianca Belair has definitely got Big Show syndrome, where you're really not quite sure if she's a heel or a face.
Well, if she's lined up with the Street Profits like she is now, she's definitely a face.
All right, which makes sense. Are the Viking Raiders now heels?
I hope so.
I would hope so. I mean, Viking Raiders sounds.
What did we get on Monday? Did we get anything Monday from the Viking Raiders?
Yeah, they cut a promo. Looked like backstage somewhere.
Were they singing karaoke?
No, not this time.
Thank God. What in the world? How do you go from 1 week of that to this? I don't understand that.
I don't know. Apparently, Sarah Logan was possibly supposed to be in that like car with them before the release was like one of the plans, but I don't know if that like changed what they did or whatnot, but I don't know. The Viking Raiders are letting down bearded Vikings everywhere.
That's some good shit.
It was terrible. That was a terrible karaoke car thing.
I love their new headgear though, man. It looks awesome.
Well, I mean, they're Vikings. They should have really cool gear. I mean, if nothing else, they should come to the ring. I mean, like Legion of Doom, Demolition, Viking Raiders, like those are 3 tag teams that you expect to have really cool ring gear when they roll out. They don't have to wrestle good, whatever. Just come out looking good and you'll be all right.
Yeah, I agree. But so you're talking about how many heels there are.
It's a lot.
The Money in the Bank ladder match for the women. The lineup is Asuka, Baszler, Jax, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, and Carmella. So Asuka, I would say, is a heel.
She's a heel, but she's doing so much. She's doing so much comedy lately that obviously everybody's kind of jumping on board with Asuka again. Yeah. But yes, I agree. She's more heel than she is face.
Baszler is definitely heel. Nia Jax is definitely heel. Lacey Evans.
Now. Lacey Evans is a better heel than a face. Lacey Evans should not be a face, but she is right now. But she'll be a heel within a month.
And then you have Dana Brooke and Carmella, and it's like
Dana Brooke's a face.
Yeah, but
see how good that is.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like it's I don't know if you said it last week or if Jimmy said it, but I feel you have to be so much more of a storyteller and a charismatic person to be a face than a heel.
Yeah,
you need that little extra to be that like ultimate face kind of guy.
Well, you also need a great heel to put you over as that face.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know that one person, Sonya Deville right now, and I think I'll focus on her, who's not in the Money in the Bank ladder match, who needs to figure out a way to get into the Money in the Bank ladder match, which would be a great story. She, to me, is the strongest heel on the female side they have right now. I understand Shayna Baszler is tough. I understand that Nia Jax has got this persona and this, the fact that she's dangerous as a character. But Sonya Deville
and as a
on the
human
mic
being,
and on the mic and in the wrestling ring is right now is the top heel they have. And if they use her right, she is going to skyrocket, man. And with that, Mandy Rose could seriously find some moves as far as being one of the top faces they have. And that's it. That you got to have the right heel to go with to make you a face. Shut up, Pete.
I'm just not on board with Mandy Rose. I don't know what it is. I enjoy Sonya Deville. I think she deserves to be in the title picture by this point already. There's no reason why she's not in the Money in the Bank ladder match. That was stupid not have her in there. I just don't care for Mandy Rose.
Think back on when you used to watch wrestling years ago. What was your thoughts on Trish Stratus before Trish Stratus stepped in a ring when she was just a valet?
I get what you're saying. They're wanting her to be the new Trish Stratus.
And not even what they want. I'm just putting our eyes on it like that. Put your eyes on it like how we used to look at Trish before she wrestled. She was just a
Well, then let her be
valet.
a valet. Then let Mandy Rose be a valet for a while.
But Mandy never see this is a different time. The women don't do that now. They go straight into wrestling. Where
What
back
about Selena
then
Vega?
she's a wrestler. You've seen all the stuff she used to do, the Hurricane Ranas and crazy stuff she would do. Trish wasn't doing that crazy stuff when she first
They
valeted.
have Selena Vega acting like Lita when Lita first started.
Yeah,
She
that's a
was
good
the valet
comparison.
who would do
Yep.
the Horkarata and stuff like that.
I think she needs some more work. She needs some more in ring stuff, but she's still young. She could still do it. Sonya, I think, is ready. And I think if Sonya keeps working with her, which I know they're still friends, they could have this great long feud with a great heel and a great face. And if she can get her in ring stuff down, I mean, she's perfectly good to put on TV all the time and look at and watch her wrestle. So I'm sure people will enjoy it. Steven won't. Steven misses Sasha Banks. He wants more Sasha Banks.
I don't want more Sasha either. No. Nothing
Well,
against Sasha. She's not bad. Here in the last little while, I think she comes across more whiny than anything to me at this point.
yeah, well, they're slow rolling this Bailey versus Sasha match, which will probably be at
It's just
SummerSlam.
Bailey
Which
should have dropped the belt to Evans and let them go back and forth and build the Sasha stuff on the side.
I don't think Evans can do it. I like Lacey Evans, but again, I like Lacey Evans as a heel. I don't think as a face she could carry it the way Sasha and Bailey are carrying the women's title right now as heels. And they're doing it together. Bailey's good as a heel, but her with Sasha elevates them both, a ton. But one other thing I want to touch on, we should probably talk about SmackDown before we wrap things up. And I kind of went on a Twitter rant live. I'm going to try to do some more live Twitter rants as we have some weeks here where we're not going to have as long of a podcast. But I'm wondering how they're going to pull off this Money in the Bank ladder match, which I'm sure is going to be a cinematic thing when both matches are happening at the same time. What are your guys' thoughts about this weird scenario that we're about to see?
It's stupid.
Well, yes, that's my first initial thought.
I mean, we always want wrestling promotions to do something different, something out of the box, something that hasn't been done before. So this has never been done before. Like they the premise of climbing the corporate ladder from the bottom of WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut, and go into the roof to get to the ring, to get to the briefcase. It's interesting. How it depends on how they do it. Now throw in a whole other wrinkle of you're going to have 2 matches going on at the exact same time. And I'm sitting here going, okay, well, what male and what female are going to help each other out as they're going up the building? Because when you look at it, there's really like no personalities that have like kind of
Fair
been
enough.
together as a duo or anything, or
Unless something happens tomorrow night where this last chance gauntlet match has guys from SmackDown show up, or you add more wrestlers into it. Is there a way for one of the women's spots to go to a Sonya Deville and Ziggler get the last spot? There's ways that it could still happen. But at this moment, you're right. The card shows there's no pairings there. There's nothing.
no.
So
I
what's
mean,
the story? Why are we doing it at the same time? Because if we're doing it at the same time, there's a reason, right?
To make a train wreck.
But there's got to be a reason,
yeah, there's
Steven.
got to be a reason.
It,
And
you don't just do it to do it. You don't just say, "Oh, we had to do something different." Okay, you already did something different by taping it at the freaking headquarters. You don't have to have the match at the same time, too. Unless they were just trying to save a buck because they were going to wreck the whole freaking headquarters and didn't want to do it twice.
and whoever is going to win this match on Monday for the last spot on the men's side, it's got to be a heel. I mean, that's the other thing.
It
So,
should be a heel.
well, yeah, it should. Okay, I'll rephrase that. It should be a heel
Yeah.
because it's so face heavy right now on the
It's
men's side.
it's gonna be AJ Styles
Why? Why?
because it's
Why?
AJ. Same
But
reason you
why?
have Rey Mysterio in there. It's the name value for it. Who else would it be? Who?
I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna
Okay,
do.
then
I don't know what
it's
they're gonna
it's
do.
gonna be AJ,
To
and then
me,
he's gonna win the briefcase, and he's gonna have the word phenomenal put on it.
to me, I said it before. Garza's the one I want to see with the briefcase. So if I had to pick one person that I want to be the last person and want to win the match, it's Garza. But that's me wanting. What they're
It's
gonna do,
Tozawa. It's Tozawa, and it's going to be Tozawa and Asuka who win it at the same time.
I hate to say it, it's either gonna be Jinder Mahal
it
or
could be
AJ
gender.
Styles.
It could be gender.
Dude, I hope it's neither one of them. I hope you are completely wrong, Steven.
All for the one promo in the back of Jinder holding the briefcase in front of Drew McIntyre. That's it. That's the only reason we need Jinder, for the one promo, and then Jinder gets rolled up.
And then let him pull a miss. He gets thrown up. Let her pull a Mr. Kennedy, and he loses the belt to somebody. Or
The
loses the briefcase
briefcase.
to
Yeah.
somebody. Yeah.
They haven't done that in a while where somebody lost their
Yeah.
briefcase. That'd be an interesting thing to roll this year.
Well, here recently, a lot of them cash it in within the first like month.
Yeah, real fast and don't hold on to it.
Uh,
Yeah, but this would be a good time to hold on to it considering there's a lot of unknown of what's going to happen. So I think they should pack that up. They really need to have something big for WrestleMania next year after basically not
WrestleMania in
having a wrestling.
Hollywood.
Yeah, well,
It's gonna be Roman Reigns versus The Rock.
is it? Because Roman Reigns seems to be in pun intended doghouse. He is not anywhere to be seen. He's not talked about. They're keeping his name out of
Well,
everybody's mouth. They're not showing promos of Roman Reigns or anything. They're
from
ignoring
what
him completely.
yeah, from what I've been seeing, The Rock wants this match, and it's one of those kind of things. They're not gonna say no to The Rock. I don't think a belt will be involved. But I do
Doesn't have to
think
be.
no, it doesn't have to be. And that's some of the best stuff we've had from Roman in the last few months is nowhere near the belt picture.
Yeah, and let's make that clear, WWE. You do not need somebody like The Fiend, somebody like Kofi to drop the belt to put the belt in that match. We don't need the belt.
Oh,
Okay?
talking about the Fiend, I've been reading. One of the main ideas coming around is having the Fiend beat Strowman for the belt already, and the Fiend hold on to it until Roman Reigns is ready to win it, which could be SummerSlam 2021. So letting the Fiend hold the belt for over a year before he drops it to Roman.
Okay,
No.
I can't deal with this. So I did this on Twitter. I'm doing it again now. Stop with the Fiend and the belt. Stop. He does not belong with a championship around his waist.
He doesn't need it.
He doesn't need it. He is the most popular and the best thing going in wrestling right now without the belt. Once you put the belt on him, it drains all that character out of it. It takes all the terror out of it. It takes all the deceit and the fact that he's chasing after people and just terrorizing them and destroying their lives. Instead, he's got the belt and people have to come after him. It makes no sense. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen, and I was actually excited because they keep saying Bray Wyatt versus Strowman, Bray Wyatt versus Strowman, and they haven't said the Fiend.
And that's how it's billed right now on my favorite website to get your matches, Wikipedia. It says Bray Wyatt.
And I'm okay with that. But again, he could talk about the belt. He could talk about taking away something from him, but ultimately he needs to not care about it. He needs to not beat Braun Strowman for the belt, and he needs to not touch the championship or any championship for that matter for the next year. If you want the Fiend to finally be a champion, do it years from now. It annoys me because he is such a good character and he's done such a good job in all these promos, and I feel like whoever is fighting to have him be a champion is just flat wrong. So that's my rant again. I did it on Twitter. I'm doing it again now.
Even like on CBS Sports and stuff like that, they're saying Bray Wyatt. They're not saying the Fiend.
And I'm good with that. I think that's a good idea. I think that's the way they should keep it. Terrorize Braun Strowman, make him rethink himself, let Braun Strowman go back to being a heel. He needs to be a heel. They need a heel champion on SmackDown right now. So I think that makes more sense. And rather than making the Fiend the champion as the heel, let's let Braun Strowman become a heel because he has a run-in with Bray Wyatt and the Fiend.
Yeah. Is the pay-per-view next weekend?
Yeah, next Sunday.
Mother's Day?
I think so.
Huh.
1 week from today.
5/10/2020, which, spoiler alert, if you're going and seeing any of these promos going on for what we think is Ali and possibly Chad Gable, there is a 5/10/2020 number in there. So something could be coming at Money in the Bank. And that's the only other person besides Garza that would make a lot of sense is if Ali got his redemption story and got that briefcase.
Well, in true us fashion, should we make picks?
Yeah, I guess we got to put some picks together. We'll reach out to the guys, but Chuck, do we have that lineup of the matches? Can we quickly roll through it? There shouldn't be too much to pick from.
Yeah, hold on.
Okay. Chuck's gonna pull up those matches. While he's doing that, I'll say, hey guys, we're gonna make these picks. After that, we're probably gonna go ahead and sign off. But make sure you're going out there to YouTube this time because we're actually going to have video. If I didn't screw up this recording out there of us on screen talking to each other, making faces, and yes, the three of us dancing to the theme song. I mean, you can't beat that.
White boy dancing at that.
White boy dancing at that, yes.
The best kind of
Podbean, TuneIn, iTunes, all those things. Make sure you go subscribe and listen to us. Chuck, give us some matches so we can make some picks.
So we got women's Money in the Bank, Asuka, Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax, Dana Brooke, Lacey Evans, and Carmella. We got the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. We have the empty spot of TBD's, my favorite wrestler of all time.
Vacant.
Daniel Bryan, Rey Mysterio, Aleister Black, King Corbin, and the lovable fat guy Otis. He's my man. Love him. We have the singles match for the Universal Championship: Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt. We have the women's SmackDown Championship match: Bayley versus Tamina. We have the men's WWE Championship match, Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins. And then right now, the last thing that's on my list here is a fatal four-way for the tag team championship. It's the New Day versus Miz and Morrison versus the Forgotten Sons versus Lucha House Party.
Well, what I see, there's two more matches. I had to scroll down for them.
Okay.
The Raw Tag Team Championship with the Street Profits versus the Viking Raiders.
Okay.
And then the Intercontinental Championship match with Sami Zayn versus Drew Gulak. It said could be on the pre-show.
Nah, I don't see that happening. I think it's because Zayn basically said he's not wrestling right now.
Yeah,
So
it's penciled in now. They're hoping to be able to pull together this Friday on SmackDown.
gotcha.
Interesting.
All right, so let's roll from the top. So Chuck, the first one was the Money in the Bank ladder match for the women's match.
Yep.
I would love to pick Sonya Deville right now, but she's not in the match. So if we get to a point where there's a substitution or Sonya Deville shows up, I'm picking Sonya Deville. If she's not in the match, which is the case right now, and I have to pick somebody, I'm going to pick Nia Jax. This heat that she has right now, that they are going to take it and roll with it, and I think Nia Jax wins the match.
I think that was Steven's I don't agree face.
It was.
Yeah.
I think in a twist of it, Dana Brooks wins the women's match, and Nia Jax is mad, and she pulls down the men's briefcase. So two women get briefcases and no men.
That is an interesting twist. If they're both if it's happening at the same time and two briefcases are up there, that could be confusing and annoying, and we'd be very pissed at the end of that. Oh wait, hold on. Let's do the sigh of oh crap, that might be actually true.
But I do think, oddly enough, Dana Brooke wins the women's match.
Going out there, cool.
Oh man,
what you got, Chuck?
I'd have to go with Nia Jax. I agree with Tiro. I feel
it's a bad place to be, Chuck.
Yeah, it's really. Think of our streaks. I got like 4 or 5 pay-per-views in a row.
No, I don't care. I don't care. I don't see Dana Brooke winning this. If one of the other ones do, it's gonna be Carmella again.
Well, when you're wrong, I want you to wax the top of your head and write "I'm sorry, Steven" on it.
That'd be great for the podcast. I want you to do that. Thank you.
It would be. Okay, then we got the men's ladder match.
All right, so as of right now, there's a vacant spot, right? So
yeah.
It's tough. Maybe we'll revisit that pick. I'm gonna make a pick now just because we're on the podcast now. We're taping. You heard me say Garza already, so you know if Garza's in there, he'll be my pick. I think you have to give it to Daniel Bryan, which is something weird that I didn't think I'd say when we started this podcast, but he's the only relevant name that could do something with the briefcase that's not a heel. So I'm going to go Daniel Bryan and be wrong again, probably.
If it's not the whole crazy Nia Jax women win both briefcases, give it to Aleister Black. And then after each title match, have him come out there and black mass each champion.
I hate that. I hate Aleister Black with it because Aleister Black is a guy who we've talked about before in the past, like Braun Strowman, doesn't need that contract.
Let him win it and just let him be a monster and just
he is a monster.
Play his role, whatever he wants to do. And then at Survivor Series, maybe have him versus all 3 champions in a fatal 4-way. When they have the champions come out, he comes out with his briefcase, and it's a random whoever belt he wants to pin.
I love Aleister Black. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't like guys that I think don't need it to get the briefcase. I think it needs to be.
And Daniel Bryan needs it.
I think Daniel Bryan needs another story of, hey, let me go after a big guy that I probably can't beat, and Braun Strowman being a heel because the Fiend turns him back into a heel versus Daniel Bryan could be interesting.
Yeah, but Daniel Bryan's in the middle of his feud with King Corbin and Cesaro and Nakamura, which they added more to this past week. And if Sami Zayn was there, he'd still be feuding with him. I think it's going to end up being Daniel Bryan versus Sami Zayn for the IC Championship at SummerSlam. That's the direction they have him going in, not the main title picture. We don't need the stupid hemp title back.
Blasphemy.
I said it.
Blasphemy.
Would it be a hemp briefcase?
I would love that. I would love that. Garza's gonna win. Garza's gonna win the Money in the Bank anyway, so it's fine.
Just for that, I hope Aleister Black wins it. So much more now.
Oh, we're gonna fight. Okay, go ahead, Chuck.
If depending on who the TBD is, right now I'd go with Aleister Black.
What? What is wrong with you? The two of you. Oh man, you guys are killing me.
I just feel out of all those people, I feel that he could be more menacing than everybody else.
That's my heart.
The King has already won something. Otis has absolutely no chance.
God, I can't believe Otis is in the match.
I agree with Steven on where they're going with Daniel Bryan. I mean, Ray, I don't see him winning it. And, I think Black with a black briefcase would be amazing.
I'm on an island by myself, so I have nothing I can say that's going to help right now.
Already picture it. Drew's coming in for a Claymore, and it's a black mask Claymore, and they both go out.
I'm just going to black mask myself out of this question.
Okay, we got Braun Strowman versus Bray Wyatt for the Universal title.
Braun Strowman wins by DQ. I just see this going to the point where Bray just beats the crap out of him or does something to him, or maybe it's a no finish. You know what? I'm switching it. No finish. No finish because Bray takes him to someplace. The Firefly Funhouse, back to being the black sheep, basically just disappears and takes him away.
Yeah, I think it ends in a no contest with Strowman sitting in the rocking chair with the mask on.
That's good.
Rocking back and forth, and you hear the Fiend laughing, and then the screen just goes black, and it goes into the next match.
They should just end the night on that. That'd be good.
Yeah, that should be the.
Yeah.
If it's not the ending match, then yeah.
I agree with Braun winning, with what Chris said in the beginning, but then I like the no contest better, so I'm going to agree with all of y'all.
How boring are we?
Very boring. Let's see, Bayley and Tamina.
Bayley. There's no way they give it to Tamina. Jimmy Snuka killed people. No way.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
I think Bayley wins. I think Sasha gets involved somehow and gets taken out by Tamina again, and Bayley rolls Tamina up after she super kicks Sasha off the apron.
Yeah, definitely Bayley. I mean, there's no way in any way, shape, or form Tamina should ever have a belt. I'm sorry. Oh, let's see. Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins.
Drew. I don't see Seth as a person who needs the title, and it makes all the sense in the world for Drew to keep riding this momentum of being probably the number one guy on the roster right now.
I agree. With the way Drew beat Brock, with the way Drew and Brock's program has been going since the Royal Rumble, you don't take it off of him this quick. And with Rollins being the whole Messiah character, just like with the Fiend, the character doesn't need a belt. There's no need to put a belt on him. So Drew McIntyre.
And for the trifecta, Drew McIntyre. This fatal four-way match for the SmackDown titles. New Day, Miz and Morrison, Forgotten Sons, and Lucha House Party.
I'm so uninterested in the tag team division right now, which is sad because I love the New Day, Usos. I mean, which one is it, Jay or Jimmy that got a bad knee
Jimmy, I
injury?
think, is out like 6 to 9
Yeah,
months.
he's gonna be out for a while. So good luck to him getting back. But it's just that the tag division is suffering right now, and
When they throw the Lucha House Party into the tag title picture, you know it's suffering.
yeah, I give credit to the Forgotten Sons, but again, I don't see them as a powerful tag team. I see them as two guys putting over a third guy who eventually is going to have a singles career. So I'm going to say New Day retains.
I think the reason they took the belts off of Miz and Morrison was because of the stink with the Usos, and now with the Usos basically out of the picture, I think they give the belts back to Miz and Morrison.
I'm going to stick with the 8-time tag team champions and go with the New Day.
Don't agree with Tiro. Why?
Dude,
I'm
Day
sorry.
rocks.
That
Day
is not the
rocks.
Tiro you agree with when you want to win in picks.
I had picked the New Day in my head before Thierry even spoke.
You guys are a bunch of bootios.
I did have pancakes this
Hey,
morning.
I like Big E's intro now. Hey, people at home. I mean, come on, you gotta love it.
This is I want Big E. Big E's so good. He should be a champion by now, other than the tag title.
Okay, so what the other two?
The
If we
possible matches. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders.
That one makes sense. That one will probably
don't-
happen. I don't think the other one. I think it's going to be hard to get Sami Zayn to come wrestle the other one. But let's pick the
That
Street
one
Profits
depends on
and
how Friday goes. That's
yeah,
going to be an interesting one. But
we could
I
do
think,
Profits and Viking Raiders,
yeah,
and
I
then we
think they
could
set that
throw
up
it out.
tomorrow night. I don't know. I don't see them taking the belts off the Profits yet, and I think that's because of
Yeah, I agree.
Bianca getting involved. I think she does something that causes the Viking Raiders to lose, and it just fuels their rage more, and it makes them more into the heel team. And then I think they lose, and then they destroy the Street Profits. Give them kind of that like Dudley Boy vibe from back in the day, where they take out the Street Profits and then they hit their move on Bianca and leave her laying in the ring, just like the Dudleys used to 3D every woman in sight.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. I know Jimmy would love to see that. He loves to see when the women mix it up with the guys. I I got a weird feeling the Street Profits could go heel for a while. Like I just think with Bianca Belair and them as a trio, they can go a little more edgy and really go heel for a little bit and get more serious
But I
and
love it when
have a
they
run
come
like
out
that.
because
Oh,
we
they're
want the
funny,
smoke.
right? They're great. And they get in the crowd, but there's no crowd. You know, there's no crowd to get into right now.
But you gonna
So
turn them heel right before they start letting crowds back in?
it's minimal crowds, man. They're gonna let
No,
crowds
crowd to
back in.
crowd.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. They're gonna let crowds back in, but they are not gonna let wrestlers run through the crowd. They're not going to let people run through the crowd right now. So, what better way to say, hey, we can't go in the crowd right now, but to say, we're heels right now. And then eventually you turn them back and it's the big payoff where they're faces again.
I would love to see them heel versus the New Day. Just the promos alone, and throw the
Yeah.
Usos in there too. Just the promos alone for those three would be great.
They need to slim down the tag division and let them just kind of all mix and intermingle.
It
Like,
should, yeah, it should be a world tag titles, not a Raw and a SmackDown.
yeah, I wouldn't mind unification at this point because they're not doing anything good with the tag division on both sides at the same time. So why not just unify them? But Chuck, we're stepping all over your pick, man. Give me a pick.
it's fine with me, man.
We're making them think about it.
I'm
Is it
gonna
your
go.
kin,
What?
your kinfolk?
No, I'm actually not. I'm going with the Street Profits.
If
And
only you had a red cup to hold up when you said it.
I know. But I would love to see. I would love to see. Wow, I'd love to see
He held
Bianca
it too high out of
Belair
camera.
get into it somehow. And even though it's not going to happen, it would be awesome to see Sarah Logan come out and side with the Viking Raiders. Even though it's not going to happen, I mean, it would be cool to have those
Beth, can you shut him
those
up?
3
I
and
can't.
3 going against each
He's
other
all
there for
over
a little
the
while.
thing.
I guess only time will tell.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting close, and it'll be fun to see what happens. I mean, that's the one probably shining thing that Raw's got going right now that makes sense is they got the Street Profits. So I think that's it. We actually, I promised you guys a shorter podcast tonight, and
you lied.
And I lied because you know what? We just had too much fun talking about wrestling. So that's your fault.
It's amazing how good of a conversation we can have without Jimmy.
Oh, shots fired over the bow. There it was.
Ooh.
That hurts.
That should be the name of the episode too. It's amazing how good an episode can be without Jimmy.
The amazing episode without Jimmy. There you go. There it is. It was going to be the Frozen Boss was going to be the original name of the episode because if anybody is watching on YouTube, you might see Steven in one pose for a good 20 minutes in the beginning of the podcast. But don't worry.
What happened there for a little while. He was just like...
He's amazing at not blinking. So this is the moment in the podcast where Jimmy takes about 5 minutes and awkwardly tries to sign off. I am not going to do that. I am going to go over here to the area where it says stop recording, and I'm going to stop recording. So what you're going to do is you're going to go you're going to go subscribe, you're going to go listen to us on any of those podcast areas, and we're going to say see you later, and we'll talk to you again soon. Get some merch. Go to TeePublic and get some shirts.
Tell MJF I'm coming after him.
And MJF, Captain's coming for you.